Good evening and welcome to another live episode with me, Clifton Brantley. I am your host. Uh, we are talking about, well, this is Manhood Mondays, and tonight we're talking about fatherhood, the beginning of love. And so I was saying earlier, thank you for everyone who has emailed me questions or responded to the feedback that I asked about, what you got from the I don't want to call it a webinar. I don't know what to call it, but I'll send you another email after this one sometime tomorrow, whenever, for more feedback. But speaking of, I want to send a poll out to you guys to help me to name this time that we have together, right? So, or should I say, name my, I guess, show, right? Because it's not a podcast, obviously, but it's like a podcast. It's just with video. But I don't know if I should name it the Clifton Brantley Show or the Learn to Love Show. Learn to what's my slogan? Live and love better. I don't know. So I'll send that out to you. But listen, so tonight we're talking about fatherhood and the beginning. Fatherhood, I believe, is the beginning of love, because a father's love is so important, which is why I thought this piece definitely needed its own time slot. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Now, listen. So as we talk about, now I apologize, I just finished washing my hands, so I need lotion. But as we talk about a father's love, it's really important for you to get the message that your love for your child matters. Okay. You need to get the message that your love for your child matters. The love of a mother and father are both crucial. Okay. The love of mother and father are both crucial. But a father's love can, at least what I've found, can really, should I say, make or break how a child shows up to adulthood. And so that's why I thought it was really important to do this for tonight. When a child is first born, talking about a father's love, when a child is first born, typically they bond with the mother because, mom is the one feeding them and mom is the one caring for them primarily and nurturing them. The bonding with the father is not as automatic, but it is just as crucial, right? As a father, you have to be intentional about your love. And you must, I cannot emphasize must enough, you must make sure that your child knows that they are a priority to you. The way that you love your child will be the template by which they recognize love and what they deserve, right? I'll say that again. The way that you love your child will be the template by the way they recognize love and how they recognize what they deserve, right? So if you're an absent father, or if you fail to get your love messages to them, you are still teaching them about love, but the message is a negative one, right? The message they receive when you are absent or when you are not good at it, I shouldn't say not good at it, but when you are failing at it, the message is, I'm not lovable. Something is wrong with me, right? I'm not good enough. This then sets them up to prove to you and everyone else that they are good enough to love. So they learn then to perform for love and for acceptance. This is why a lot of clients do well in school, or they become perfectionists. Why? Because they are trying to prove that they have value. Without a father's love, you will show up to adulthood love deficient. And it doesn't matter so much if mom's love is there. If dad's love is absent, you will show up to adulthood love deficient. And what I'm trying to do is help you prevent that from happening with your child. Give me a second. Let me make sure. Let me solve this the camera down. Okay, yeah. You can't see it, but the camera was doing some weird stuff. So, um, a father's love is very much needed. So now the reason I talk about, the reason I talked about discipline last week was to help you to do it better and to help you not do it in a way that would cancel out or block the message of love that you're trying to send. Right? Now, there are 4 questions. There are 4 questions that all of us humans need to answer. Right? I heard Dr. Rick Marks say this a couple of times last week, and I like it. It stuck with me. So here are 4 questions that every human must have answered in the affirmative. The 4 questions are this. Number 1, do I matter? Okay. Do I have value? Am I lovable? And then the 4th one is, do I have a purpose? When these questions are appropriately answered within those first 8 years of life, then the child has a strong foundation on which to build the rest of their life. When they are not answered in those first 8 years, as an adult, it will be difficult, not impossible, but difficult for them to determine from within an appropriate self-esteem level. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Now, let me tell you what self-esteem is. Self-esteem is based on what you believe the most significant people or person in your life believes about you. What you believe that the most significant person or people in your life believes about you. The parents are the first point of contact for the child. And so when they get to the planet, they interact with the parents first. How these parents love the child will shape how the child loves themselves. Don't forget that. Now, once they're out of the age of what I call impressionable influence, which is around about 13, they ideally would start to look to their, I'll say, creator God for their self-esteem. You understand that? Right? So when they first get here, they look to their parents. And when they start to move out of, start around age 13, ideally, they should start looking to their creator God for their self-esteem. Because remember, it's about what you believe the most significant person in your life believes about you. And to that point, why can't I have self-esteem on my own if it's self-esteem? Because we're not designed that way, where we do life alone, or we can just know that I have value in and of myself. Now, people say that, I know I have value and my self-esteem is high. But the reality is, all of us need someone else validating that. And my contention is, once you're an adult, that validation has to come from God. Now, let me make this point too. So what that means is that from the time that they believe in God, what they believe that God thinks about them should be the thing that begins to shape their view of themselves. Right? Now, realistically, this shifting of value, shifting of the value system from the parents to God, realistically don't really happen until like you're full grown, right? You may be introduced to God as a kid, but most of us, we don't start to change that particular identity piece until we're adults, right? But the reason some of you may be struggling yourself with self-esteem or self-value is because you may still be holding on to what your parents believe about you, or what you believe your parents believe about you, or other humans, right? So even if you grew up in a, let's say, healthy home, your parents were imperfect. So switching the source of your value from them to God is the pathway to good living. Unfortunately, what most of us often do is transfer it from our parents to our friends, or to our social group, or to our spouse. This is the core of people pleasing. Yeah, it's the core of people pleasing, and we'll talk more about God's view of you when we talk about God and purpose in the next few weeks. But did you know this? I thought this was interesting. Research says that children will most likely see God the way they see their dad. Yeah. So if dad is mean and rigid, that will be their view of God. If dad is loving and caring, then that will be their automatic view of God. That's what the research says, and I can see that. I think I agree with the research. Right now, of course, everyone has the ability to change that view of God, but I think it is important to know that how your child relates to you as a father can heavily determine how they relate to God. Right now, as adults, these 4 questions that do I matter? Do I matter? Do I have value? Am I lovable? And do I have a purpose? These 4 questions have to be answered throughout our life. But once we become an adult, it's kind of a duality. So on one hand, you get it from God. That's where your surety comes from, where your certainty. But in your relationship with your spouse or other people, those healthy relationships will answer these questions also in the affirmative. It's just not something that you need to know your own value, but you needed to know your value in the relationship. Does that make sense? Now, if these questions are not answered by God first, you will struggle to have them answered by humans in a healthy way. Okay. Now, hopefully this lets you know how important your love as a father is to your child. It's really important. Your son will learn how to love himself based on how you love him. And he will learn how to love women based on what you model for him and loving his mom primarily, right? Your daughter will learn to love herself and how a man should love her based on what you model. So if you ignore their emotions, they will believe that what they deserve is to be ignored. If you yell at them, they will believe that this is what they deserve. Are y'all with me? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so I came up with these four areas of focus in order for your child to know that you love them. Right? These 4 areas that I'm going to give you. Now, this is different than the 4 questions. Right? The 4 questions: am I lovable? Do I matter? Do I have value? And do I have a purpose? Those are the 4 questions. But these 4 areas of focus, and because we can't do everything in one sitting, there are probably, as a matter of fact, when I finished my notes, there was another area. I had a 5th one, but I didn't want to put it in because, I didn't want this to be too long. But I came up with 4 areas for you to focus on in order for your child to get your love, to get the message that you love them. Okay. Now, please understand that loving your child won't mean much if they can't feel it. Loving your child won't mean much if they cannot feel it. Right. So here's the first thing. The first thing your child needs from you as a father to get your love across to them is attention. Write that down, please. Right? Your children need your attention. The way that children interpret love, or the way that they determine that they matter, is by the time you spend with them and the attention that you give. Now, this is crucially important for you to understand, because it must be your time and attention, right? A lot of fathers think that because they have their children for the weekend and because they get them consistently, that will translate for the child that they are valued and that they are a priority for them. But while they are with you on the weekend, if you do not give them your positive attention, then the message of being valuable to you will not get across to them, right? And if you're married and or your children live with you, it may be more difficult for you to get the message right because they're always at home, right? So if you come home every night and you see them, you may think that they know that you love them because they see you every day. But again, if you are not giving them your attention and your time, it will block their ability to develop a healthy sense of value. Okay. Now, I told you last week a little bit about me. I told you that my dad was home every night. Right? My dad was home. My dad was not absent physically, but I still felt invisible to him. Not because he was mean, not because he didn't care, but because I'm sure he had no idea that attention translated to love for that little boy. I'm sure he didn't know that, right? When children are young, between the ages of 0 to 8, they're very egocentric, right? They are the center of the world and everything revolves around them. So when you give them attention, you validate their belief that they matter, that they have value, that they have purpose, right? When you don't give them attention, it will send the message that they are not special, they are not lovable, and they do not matter. No matter how many PlayStations you buy them, no matter how pair of shoes you buy them, if that attention piece is not there, the message of love will not get across, or the message of love will be tainted and they'll think that love is about gifts. I promise you, gifts will never meet the lonely need. Right? There's a need inside of all of us that speaks to loneliness. Gifts won't do that. Okay? When they're not getting your consistent attention and they try to process why, they will conclude it must be something wrong with me. Why? Because they're egocentric. They will not conclude, Dad loves me. He's just working a lot. You know, Dad's working a lot. He's just trying to make sure the lights are on and make sure we got water. No, they will not conclude that, right? Even if you flat out tell your child that I know Dad's not home a lot, but I'm working to provide, they would not be able to reconcile what you say with how they feel. They won't be able to. As a matter of fact, saying I love you, but not giving them the attention that they need will send the message that love does not mean attention or does not need attention, which is incorrect. So they'll find themselves in relationships with people who say they love them, but does not prioritize them, right? Your child will think something is wrong with them because they think the person love them, but it doesn't feel like they love them. They don't make me feel like I'm important to them, right? Now, the reason for this is because relabeling something does not change what it is. You can't relabel candy as healthy because it tastes good and then expect for the candy to, when you eat it, the body's going to extract the necessary nutrients that it needs to be healthy. Why? Because it ain't in there. In the same way, telling your child I love you, but not showing enough attention will not meet the need to feel valued and special. And let me add this: the attention needs to be direct attention. Okay, it doesn't need to be group attention. Like I'm not talking about dads spending time with the family. I'm talking about your child specifically. Okay, when I was a single father of 3, I remember trying to create a space for all of them to spend time with me one on one, right? Uh, and this was long before I was a therapist. Actually, something just clicked that, hey, I wonder if they ever feel like they just kind of blend in and they want some one on one time with me. So I tried to create a space where each one of them could get adequate one on one time with me. Now, I failed at that. I failed at that particular task because, like most of you, I truly did not understand how much children needed. That is why I have a hard belief. This is just what I believe, right? A single parent with more than two children, that's too much, right? A single parent with more than two children is too much. A two-parent home with more than three children is too much. I believe, now this is just me, I believe it's selfish to have 5, 6, 8 kids, right? Because I do not believe that it is humanly possible for all of those children to get the love they need in a two-parent home, let alone a one-parent home. Not saying anything about the parent, it's just not possible. At least I don't believe so, right? That's just me. So the first thing your child needs is attention. And let me say it this way. I should say positive attention, because here's what will happen to your child too. When you're always disciplining your child, you're always correcting them, and they always get in trouble, you are showing them attention, but the attention is negative. And so they will develop a negative view of themselves and of love. You don't want that, right? That's like developing a negative view of food. Like, food is terrible. Well, if you have that belief, how are you going to live? Because you need food, right? So anyway, number 2, the second thing that your child needs is your patience. Your child needs for you to be patient with them, okay? When children are born, they are vulnerable, imperfect, dependent, and immature, right? All children are born with these attributes. It's the parent's job to help each child develop each characteristic properly so that they arrive to adulthood as an emotionally mature, functional adult who can have their value and esteem come from within instead of on the outside of them. But along with those 4 attributes, there are 3 other characteristics that all children have. And these particular characteristics set them on the path of healthy or unhealthy relationships. Okay, so here to go. The first one is this: children are egocentric. I said that earlier. That means that they are centered on themselves. Okay, they need to be this way. This helps them to develop internally. Second thing, children are full of boundless energy. This helps them to do the hard work of growing through childhood to become an adult. They need that endless energy. And then children are adaptable, right? This helps them to go through the maturation process without stress because of the constant changing and the constant adjusting. So the reason that your child needs your patience is because from the age of 0 to 8, again, they're trying to figure out how to do life on this planet. They don't know. They just got here, right? And honestly, I'm 48 and I'm still learning how to do life. Okay. So then now, from the ages of 9 to about 12, they're trying to figure out their place in the world. They're trying to figure out, where do I fit? Where's my place? And then between the ages of 13 to 15, they're trying to figure out who they are, stuck between being a child and being an adult, right? Who am I? And then 16 to 18, they're thinking about what they want to do with their life. Now, these are not hard etched in stones, right? I'm just kind of giving you a rough estimate of like, how they develop. Now, for all of us adults, we know that in 18 years, your child will not likely be ready to do life on their own. We get that. The thing is, you have to remember that their experience in real time is very different from your real time experience. Not only that, their childhood experience is different than your childhood experience. They're growing up in a completely different era than you did. And if we talk about the 0 to 8 age, your patience will be needed to help them grow and be okay with making mistakes, so they don't develop a sense of that they need to be perfect. Your patience is crucial for these children. If you get the message that you're being imperfect and dependent, vulnerable and immature, and it's not acceptable, if you get if you get an unacceptable message, then you'll be injured. And so when your child is being dependent, they're wanting to lean on you and, Dad, can you help me out? Don't try to make them be more independent than they need to be. You're going to injure them. Children are immature. Stop trying to make them be more mature than they need to be. You're going to injure them. Stop trying to make them know what you know. It is not abnormal for your child to be self-centered at a certain level, at a certain age. They need this to develop a healthy sense of self. But if you reject them for this natural characteristic, you will be rejecting them. Why do I say that? Because they cannot separate their behavior from who they are. They don't know how to do that yet. And so when you reject something they do or believe or feel, you are rejecting them. So allowing your child to be who they are, trust me, will take great patience. I tell parents all the time, stop trying to get your 6-year-old to act like a 20-year-old. If he's crying, he has an issue. Even if he's whining and he's not really hurting, he has an issue. How you address that issue will heavily impact what he thinks of himself. Your patience with your child will help you to minimize their beliefs of not being good enough. You know what that's like, because pretty much all of us have these beliefs of not being good enough, right? If you are not emotionally mature, here's that word again. I think I'm going to talk about that every week. If you're not emotionally mature, you will have a hard time being patient with your child, because your focus will be on what you want instead of what they need. So when your 6-year-old writes on the wall, when you're emotionally mature, you don't explode because you're being patient, right? You don't have the mindset, you know better. You know better than that. So instead of discipline, or instead of punishment, you will show discipline in love and teach them again that is not acceptable. You thought you already taught them that, but teach them again, right? This reminds me of a time when I probably was about maybe 7 or 8. And me and my friends, we were outside at my grandmother's house. My grandmother's house, they lived in the neighborhood, so but was at my grandmother's house, and we had some spray paint. I don't know where we got the spray paint from. I think we probably found it somewhere or whatever. And so we decided to paint the gate in the backyard. I said I was 7 or 8. I wasn't 3, 4, 5, 6. I was old enough to know better. Okay. Now, we thought we were doing a good thing. Why? Because we were literally talking bad about the devil. Right? We drew the devil on the fence, and then we scratched through him, and we wrote stuff like, I hate the devil, and the devil is bad. We were not at all thinking beyond the moment. Now, when my mom got home, because we was living with my grandmother at the time, when my mother got home, I I was thinking about it. I had flashback. When my mother got home, I think it would have been better for me to go live with the devil than to stay in the house that night, because it wasn't pretty, right? Uh, First, it wasn't even my grandmother's fence. It was the neighbor's fence. So my grandmother, so like there's a fence in between the two houses, but it wasn't my grandmother's because she had no, like there was no way for us to get, it was no fence to get back there. So that was the neighbor's fence. So we painting on the neighbor's fence. I didn't know that, right? Second, we never even thought we would get in trouble because we were not being deviant or defiant. We thought we was doing good. Now, I share that. I share that to the point, to point out that children do not think like adults, even when you think the child is mature for their age. I've always heard that, right? That statement has probably caused more children of all ages more harm than anything. When you determine they should know better, then you will deal with them in a way that's based on what you think they should know, instead of the reality that they don't know yet, right? I'll tell you another example. My 6-year, I don't know why, I guess in my notes, I had all these 6-year-olds, but my grandson is 6 years old. And my grandson can tell you about all kinds of animals and animal facts I never knew. I'm like, Doc, where you get all this stuff from? He's almost like a walking encyclopedia. And I think, are you guys old enough to know what an encyclopedia is? Because I know it's 2021. Anyway, walking encyclopedia. I'm often impressed by his choice of words, so I'm often by his choice of words and how he is forming his thoughts. But this kind of thing can make you think that the child is more advanced than they really are. But the truth is, because children are great at recording, he can simply repeat what he heard, include the right inflections and explanations, and sound like an adult. But the reality is, he's been on the planet for 6 years. His brain has not developed to the point to where he can make complex connections, right? His development did not speed up. He came here with the ability to record, and then once he could talk, he got the ability to repeat what he recorded. But at 6, he does not have the cognitive ability to understand the world the way you do, because his physical brain is not fully developed. Now, let me give you this example on how children, especially young children, primarily young children, don't process reality the way you think, the way you do. So if you ask a 4-year-old, use a different age this time. If you ask a 4-year-old, so there's 2 boys, a 4-year-old, he has a brother, just them 2. If you ask him if he has a brother, he will say yes. But if you ask him if his brother has a brother, he's likely going to say no. So now think about this. If you had your child when you were 25, when the child was 5, you're 30. When the child is 10, you're 35. When the child is 16, you're 41. Right? Do you see how the gap never closes? Right? The gap between you and your child, it never closes. So then this also means while you are parenting them between the ages of 0 to 18, they will likely never know what you know the way you know it. Beyond that, even what they know, let's say they a genius and they know stuff that you don't know. What they know is still filtered through their personality, their feelings, their beliefs about themselves, right? So they don't think like you think. They don't know what you know. That fact alone creates the space for you to increase your patience. A lack of patience will communicate that you're not worth listening to. You're not worth me investing in and getting to know better. And then one more thing about patience. Please, 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 I beg you, get over yourself. What do I mean by that? Stop telling your children, and I hate this, stop telling your children, I'm not going to keep telling you the same thing over and over. Why? So what are you going to do after that? Your patience has run out. If you love them, you will tell them as long as it takes for them to get it. Why? Because love does what is best for the other, right? Recognize that you do not know it all. Even if you know more than they do, you don't know it all. You may know more than them, but you did not create them. And perhaps there are things in them, since you didn't create them, perhaps there are things in them that God put there put things in there that contradicts with what you believe how life should be, or or it contradicts with what you want for them. Okay, so that is, if nothing else, a reason for you to be patient with them. They don't know what you know. They don't understand what you understand. You're being patient with them allows your love to get through to them in a way that being impatient won't. As a matter of fact, being impatient will put them on the track of being a perfectionist or self-doubt and a whole lot of other stuff. So your children need your patience. Okay. Now, the third thing that your child needs is your validation. Right? As a father, it is easier for you to miss out on validating your child, particularly if you are the main breadwinner or if you work a lot. Okay? When you show them positive attention and when you are patient with them, you are actually validating the fact that they have value. But beyond that, they need to hear your words. Okay? They need to hear your words of validation. I love you, son. Baby girl, you're so precious to me. Good job. That's right. This, I like this one. So when kids are not making good grades, that's all right. Anybody could have made that mistake. Anybody could have made that. I'm proud of you. That's a huge one. I remember when I was graduating with my bachelor's, and I was on the phone with my kid's mom, and we were divorced at the time, but we had actually become like really good friends. So I was telling her that I'm graduating, and as I'm telling her that I'm graduating, I think I may have said this Friday. I don't know what I said, but anyway, I'm telling her that I'm graduating. She said, "Oh, I'm proud of you." And when I heard the words, I broke down like a baby. I was out of there, right? And when I say I broke down, I'm talking about the ugly cry, right? It caught me off guard. Now, to my knowledge, I had never heard those words before. I had never heard it. I was 36 when that happened. This happened at a time. This happens sometimes when I'm talking to clients as well, right? And I want to paint a picture for you real quick on how what I think happens in those times. So, got to use your imagination a little bit, right? Use your imagination a little bit. So imagine imagine that there's a room. It's a dark room, and it has a window, and there's a child in it, right? Now, I know everyone doesn't have a wounded child, right? I know everyone does not have a wounded child inside, but most people do. So imagine inside of you being like a big empty room, and it's dark, and there's one window. Looking from the outside, you can see the window, right? Using your imagination, you can see the window, and you see that, it's just dark inside. Like you're on the outside, but you're looking at the window and it just looks black. It's dark. So you don't know. But from the inside, where the child is inside. He can see the window, but he stays away from the window. That represents you suppressing emotions and basically not letting him be seen, because he's learned that he doesn't have value, and he's learned that he's not good enough or whatever. So this kid is walking around. Your inner child is walking around this dark room, kind of with his head down. He may look up at the window every now and then, but he doesn't go over there because he's forgotten, or at least he's trying to be forgotten, right? Okay, you got the image? Okay, now imagine that, as the child is walking around, wishing that he was free, right? He wished that he was free. And so then one day he hears someone saying something that he's been longing to hear, or he feels something that he's been longing to feel, right? When my kid's mom said, "I'm proud of you," right? In this context, when she said, "I'm proud of you," the little boy in the room sprint to the window and was like, "Hey, y'all talking about me?" And I was done, right? I've seen it with my clients as well. We'll be talking. I'll tell a client, you're a good parent. And the kid runs to the window. "Hey, you talking about me?" They immediately start crying. And what I tell them, I don't tell the whole story like I just told it, but I say, that's the child waiting to get out. And you didn't know it, but what I said, it was unexpected. Like, they didn't even know they was emotional around that topic. I said that child just ran to the window so that I could see them, and the waterworks started. I share that because the child is that way because of a lack of validation in childhood, right? So when the adult is trying to be grown with this wounded child inside, they're always vulnerable to situations like that, right? But we try to keep the child hidden because the child has too much pain. As a father, you must make sure that your child always is validated by you. You want to make sure that your child is always validated by you, even in their weaknesses and even when they mess up. Okay? Validation does not mean that you agree. It simply means you acknowledge the person's thoughts and feelings. Okay? Your child needs your validation more than they need your money. Now, as my pastor Darius Daniels would say, did you hear what I just said? Your child needs your validation more than they need your money. And I know growing up, they may have taught you that, being a provider and your money was the most important thing as a man. But I'm here to tell you, your child needs more substance from you than money and stuff. Yeah. For them to develop healthy and to be emotionally mature, your money is not necessary. They need you. Okay. Now the fourth thing that a child needs from you, and let me go back. So they need your attention, positive attention. They need your patience. They need your validation. And the fourth one, because I told you it was four, the fourth thing that your child needs from a father is hugs. Yep. Your child needs your hugs. Don't ever forget that. But watch this. They need your hugs from 0 to 99. Yeah. They don't stop needing your hugs. It's funny. So I just told you about the little boy in the dark room, right? Because I was wondering at what point, or if at some point, while preparing these Manhood Monday things for you, if he was going to run to the window. Why? Because I'm a therapist, and I'm probably way further along than most of you in the journey to be whole and well, but I'm still human, and I'm still living the human experience like you. And so I wondered, if there was going to come a part where, he was going to show up. As I was doing the notes for this part about the hugs, there he went. And I had to pause so I could take a little break. Then I got back to doing my notes, right? Here's why. Uh, when I was growing up, like I said, me and my dad did not have an emotional connection, right? We didn't have emotional connection. I did have an emotional connection with my mom, but it was an inappropriate connection because she treated me like her friend instead of her son, right? Now, growing up, and I share that to say, like my dad was me and my dad were distant, me and my mom were not, but in either one of those situations, growing up, I do not ever remember getting any hugs. Now, let me be clear. So I know my kids may be on here, my brother may be on here, my mom may be on here, my dad is watching. Love you, Dad. I did not say that my mother did not hug me. And I did not say that my dad didn't hug me. That's not what I said. What I said was, I have no memory of it. I have no memory of ever being hugged. I make this point because this speaks to the point I made earlier about getting your love to your child. It does your child no good if you being full of love for them, they cannot feel it. Hugging is not a male or female thing. It's a human thing. Hugging is a human thing. I found this resource on this website called Uninhibited Wellness. All right. So listen to this, what this says about hugs. Hugs instantly boost oxytocin levels. Oxytocin, however you want to say it. Tomato. Hugs instantly boost oxytocin levels, which decreases stress hormones and heal feelings of loneliness, anger, and isolation. Okay, you're gonna have to rewatch the video to get that because I'm not gonna repeat all of them because there's a lot of them. Okay, let me keep going. Here's another one. Hugs build trust and a sense of safety. Yeah, hugs build trust and a sense of safety. Hugs lifts one's serotonin levels, elevating mood and creating happiness. Yeah, hugs strengthen the immune system. I didn't know that. The gentle pressure on the sternum and the emotional charge this creates activates the solar plexus chakra, which stimulates the thymus gland, regulating and I'm sorry. Let me try to say this. Let me try to say it again from memory, right? Stimulates it turns on the thymus gland, regulating and balancing the body's production of white blood cells. We're talking about hugs. Hugs boost self-esteem. They provide the tactile sensation that shows us we're loved and special, increasing the feeling of self-worth. Hugs relax muscles, release tension in the body, and they take away pain because they increase circulation into the soft tissues. I didn't know that either. Hugs balance out the parasympathetic nervous system through the change in skin conduction, like moisture and electricity. Okay, your parasympathetic nervous system is where your fight or flight exists. When you have anxiety, it's always heightened, right? Hugs help with that. Hugs teach us how to give and receive. Yeah. Hugs are similar to meditation and laughter in that they teach us to let go and be present in the moment. They connect you with they connect you with your heart and the feelings of your breath. That makes sense. So, like when you're meditating, you become centered and you're in the present moment, and you focus on your heart and your breathing, all that kind of. Well, hugs can do that for you, right? Here's another one. Hugs are a form of investing in the relationship between the two people hugging, which then encourages empathy and understanding, right? So now some of you may be suffering from a lack of hugs. I don't know if I'm suffering from a lack of hugs anymore because my wife is a hugger. She loves hugging. And so I may not be suffering from a deficiency, but I think all of us could use more hugs, right? But listen to this, fathers, when it comes to hugs. Dr. Patrick Warner says that when boys are hugged by their fathers, they grow up to be more masculine rather than less masculine, as one may think. That's interesting to me. It is because when they're hugged by their fathers, they become more secure in their masculinity. Now, I seen this play out in my own life, right? I think I shared a few weeks ago. I've never struggled with my sexuality. I've always been into girls, but I have struggled with the question of if I was man enough, right? Now, whether that is solely due to my dad not hugging me, I don't know. But I do believe it is definitely connected to my relationship with my dad overall, right? So that's why I'm trying to help you be better fathers and show love to your children in a way that they can receive it, okay? So fellas, please know that hugging your son will not make them weak. Hugging your son will not make them weak. When I was raising my two boys, I didn't hug them enough at all. I know that now. I didn't hug them enough. I had no idea how crucial that small piece was. And I can say, even back then, I absolutely wanted to be an amazing parent. My children were the most important thing to me. My children were the most important thing to me when I was a single parent. But guess what? They did not always get that message because I wasn't equipped like I'm trying to equip you to get it to them, right? I'm trying to help you I'm trying to help you fathers of young children get it right long before I did, right? When I figured out how to be the kind of father that I'm trying to help you be, my kids were all grown. They were all grown. So remember, your love for your child will have a lasting effect, or your lack of love will have a lasting effect on how they show up in the world, have a lasting effect on what they believe about themselves, a lasting effect on what they believe they deserve, and a lasting effect on how they allow people to treat them. Let me add this before I end, right? Don't use your child to meet your love need. All right, I'm gonna say that again. Don't use your child to meet your love need. That is not their role. You get love from your wife, your friends, but not your children, right? Remember, don't ever forget this. Love is not about you. Love is about the person that you are loving. Okay, love is not about you. It's about the person you are loving. So for your child to get the message of your love, they need you to be giving the love to them, not requiring you to love them back. I had a client one time, part of his stress and frustration was the fact that when he got home, his children, who were, can't remember the age, but they weren't older than 12. His children did not run and greet him and ask him how his day was. And I had to catch myself, because one of the things that can push my butt more than anything is when you harm children. I said, what? Who told you it was their job to check on you? I said, no, sir. You got to change that. Okay. So now, as a recap, for your children to get get the message that you love them, they need your positive attention. They need your patience. They need your validation. You need to talk to them positively and tell them how you feel about them, especially when they mess up. I didn't emphasize that enough. Especially when they mess up, guys, they need your validation. And then they need your hugs. Yeah, they need your hugs. Now, I want an hour. Okay, so I'm gonna end with this. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a part 2 to this and break down the different stages and ages of your child and what these 4 areas look like. when you're loving your child at a particular stage, right? And I also talk about ways to repair what you may have already injured in your child. Okay, so if I do that, not if I do that, I'm gonna do that. But I'm gonna create a video and I'm just gonna upload it. It's not gonna be another, like it won't be live. I'll just create it and I'll upload it and then I'll send it to you guys. Okay, all right. So I'm open for questions. That went longer than I thought it would, but we got a late start too. So I'm open for questions. What do you guys have? And I wanted to next week I'm gonna try to have a timer. Next week I'm gonna try to have a timer. So when I put the questions up, I'm not holding you guys too long. Probably like 10 to 15 minutes for questions. But if I can see it, then it reminds all of us, me and you, hey, if you got a question, you need to get it in or whatever. So, but anyway, tell me what you guys got. And sorry about the sound earlier. I'm glad it worked itself. Well, it didn't work itself out. We had to do some work, but we got it. We got it how it should be. So tell me give me some questions. Or what questions do you have about what I shared tonight? And what parts stuck out for you? And what parts did you not agree with? Right? I don't expect you to agree with everything I say. But I definitely don't just randomly and haphazardly give you information. But do tell where I can fill in some holes for you. And I think this is, let's see. Great conversation. I think this is my brother. Corey, if that's you, why you didn't put your real name? But I think that's my brother. I appreciate you joining, man. I really do. In real life. Makes me feel like I matter and like I have value and like I'm lovable in your eyes. And I appreciate that. Any questions? Thanks, Derek. Any questions? Tonight was a little choppy for me. I don't know about you guys as far as the flow. But you got the information, right? That's what's up. Waiting. All right, I'm going to give you guys about 3 more minutes. 2 more minutes. It's 8:03. Give you guys about 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to shut it down. And if you have questions afterwards, you can always email me, as always. And, of course, as always, if you have suggestions on other topics, particularly for the men, send them to me. I thought so. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm glad you joined in. So, anybody got any? I really did go an hour. Wow. I try to keep these around 35 minutes, and then open up for questions. So, the tricky thing is, man, when you're writing notes, it tells you, I forget, y'all don't need to know all that. Anyway, it's irrelevant. So, all right, well, I'm about to shut it down and get ready for tomorrow. I have clients and all that good stuff. But I really hope this information was valuable for you guys. I really tried to emphasize the importance of your child knowing that you love them. You loving them is not enough. They got to know it. As much as God loves you, that too will do you no good if you don't know it. That's why you had to come. All right. Let's see. I have a question. Let's see what this says. Oh, don't do that. All right, here we go. How can I say I love you to my father, putting everybody behind? I'm still waiting for him to say that I'm proud of you, son. Man, yeah. So that is, number one, that's a painful situation, and I understand it. Okay. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Remember, love is not about you. It's about the person you're loving. But before you can get to that piece, when you say, how do I tell my father I love him and put everything behind me? Forgiveness. That is another one that I really should have put in here, and I don't know why I didn't, because it was on my mind when I first started doing my notes. Actually, I just missed that. But your child needs your forgiveness, but beyond that, Aaron, because Arun, because you're already grown, forgiveness is the doorway to emotional wholeness. You must forgive, because forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. You're the one stuck, they're not. So if you hold on to it, love can't flow. So unforgiveness is like, so you ever seen, like so imagine you have a pipe through which water flows. Unforgiveness will clog the pipe so that the love can't flow through it, right? So, and I can work with you on, how to get to the place of forgiveness, but ultimately, first you got to forgive. And here's what you're going to have to do. I hadn't said this in a while. You'll have to grieve the father that you wanted and never got. Yeah. And when I say grieve, it really is a grieving process. Like when someone dies and you lose someone, you have to let the image of the dad that you wanted die. And then you grieve that. And then you can accept your father for who he is. Because guess what? Your dad is who he is because of who his dad was, and because of who his dad was, and because of who his dad was. Your dad did what he knew how to do, because we all do. That's what every human does. And your dad probably did not know how to communicate love to you. Look at me with my boys. I would kill a rock for my children, but I'm not convinced at all that they knew that back then, right? Saying I love you to my kids wasn't an issue, but just talk about my two boys, the hugs. There's one time in particular, I know for sure when I look back on it, I don't think about it too much because I know I injured my son when I said what I said. He asked me for a hug and I injured him. And the point that I'm making is we all do what we know how to do, right? I wasn't trying to hurt my son. I thought that I was helping him. I thought that I was trying to make him grow to be a man. Foolishness. But why did I do that? Because I didn't know. So, it's not easy, but you got to forgive your dad. And then if you love him, just tell him. You telling him may help break the prison he's in. But let me tell you this too. This is the last thing I'm gonna tell you this. Don't tell him because you want to hear it. That's called pride. That's not love. And when you do that, you may not get what you want, and it may send you further away from him than bringing you close. So make up your mind. Once you forgive, I'm saying I love you, Dad, because I want you to know it. You don't have to give me anything back. See, here's the thing about love. And why I talked about, trying to get your love needs met through your child. Love does not require a return. Love doesn't require a return. All love really requires is gratefulness, gratitude. That is the appropriate response to love. And I get that from how God loves me and what I give him back. I can't pay him back. I can't live a certain way. That's a myth. I don't try to live good so that I'll please God. I don't try to, give enough money to pay him back. I don't try to feed enough homeless people gratitude. That's all I got. Thank you for loving me. And then what I do is I love others because that's what he commanded me to do. But that's another topic. The point is, it won't be easy for you to push through that, but you can do it. But it has to start with forgiveness, for sure. It has to start with forgiveness. Me and my father never had a bond. We talk now from time to time, but I don't even look for I'm proud of you from him because he wasn't there. Is that wrong? It's not wrong because, you're an adult. So now what you want to be careful of, or not careful, but you want to make sure you're not suppressing the child inside because the child may still want to hear it. But because you're a man and because we have pride, you may feel like, I don't need that. Learn to live life and never get it. You learn to validate the kid inside through other ways. And primarily, my thing is God is the only one that can validate, and it lasts. But that's just what I believe. But no, it's not bad that you don't want that from him, or don't feel like you don't need that from him. But just be careful that you're not trying to suppress a child who is not healed yet, right? If you haven't walked through forgiveness, then you're just kind of going through the motions of looking like forgiveness. And how do you know if you've forgiven? The reason I pause is because sometimes it's not actually easy, especially if you guys are not at odds. It's not so easy to know if you've forgiven. But anyway, when you forgive, you can give freely without expecting a return. At whatever level. You can, I'm gonna say it this way. You can go out of your way and meet a need that they have and not require a return when you've forgiven. And I didn't say not ask for a return, but not require one, because you may not ask, but then when you get home, you feel some kind of way because he didn't do whatever, But no, to answer your question, no, that's not necessarily a bad thing. My biological father, I don't have anything against him, but we don't have a relationship either, right? He'll text me on my birthday. He may text, a couple of other times a year, and okay, I don't have anything against you. I believe I have transitioned to the place where my love needs, first and foremost, primarily get met by God. But that does not mean that I don't still have issues connected to my childhood and my relationship with my dad. I just don't hold anything against him, right? I still got to work through my stuff. But like if my dad was still here, I think we'd have a great relationship because I would be more engaged because I'm wiser. Right? But I wouldn't require anything of him. Let me be a blessing to you. All right? So I hope that answers your question. No, it's not wrong. Right? All right, guys, I'm going to go so I can eat and enjoy the rest of my evening. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. As always, thank you for allowing me to speak into your life for a little while. And join me next Monday. I don't know what the topic is yet because I can't remember where we are. I want to say I have one more on fatherhood. Different topic, but on fatherhood. And then we'll go into being a husband, which is also going to be good. That may be a multi-minute series too. All right, guys. As always, thank you for joining. And I will see you guys. Well, I won't see you, but you'll see me next week.